Most people will never know this, but a plan exists, quietly unfolding, that could reshape every aspect of human life by 2030. It's called the 2030 Agenda, backed by the World Economic Forum. Every word, every policy, every recommendation is meticulously designed. Your freedoms, your money, your property, even the food you eat, could soon be controlled in ways most cannot imagine. This is still happening today, and what you see on television, in newspapers, and on social media is only the friendly version. The smiling faces, the green initiatives, the rhetoric of sustainability, they hide a deeper truth. Most people will never know this because the narrative they're given is carefully crafted. Sustainable development, global partnership, inclusive growth. Words that sound benevolent, even aspirational. But here's what they don't want you to see behind the closed doors, behind the glossy brochures. The 2030 plan is a blueprint for centralization of power, global economic control, and social restructuring on a scale unprecedented in history. Citizens are not asked to vote. There is no referendum. Implementation is silent, step by step, country by country. The history of global governance shows us the pattern. Bretton Woods, 1944. The dollar becomes the world reserve currency. IMF and World Bank are born. Nations surrender partial monetary sovereignty. Most people will never know this, but the structures built then are still the foundation today. Nixon kills the gold standard. Fiat money rules. Central banks gain unlimited printing power. Debt becomes the engine of growth. This is still happening today, and the 2030 plan leverages these same mechanisms, multiplying the influence of central authorities over citizens' wealth and choice. Agenda 21, the Rio Earth Summit, 1992, signed by 178 nations. Local implementation of global goals. Property rights quietly begin to erode under the guise of environmental protection. Most people will never know this, but every restriction, every regulation tested here is being refined and applied in new programs globally. The Brundtland Report introduces sustainable development to the lexicon. It sounds harmless, but policy follows language. Words become rules. Rules become law. This is still happening today, and the lessons learned 3 decades ago are being operationalized in cities, banks, and corporations worldwide. By 2015, the United Nations formalizes the 2030 Agenda. 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Goal 17. Global Partnership. Translation: Public-private power. Consolidation. Most people will never know this, but behind the euphemisms, the UN and WEF have designed a network of influence where multinational corporations, banks, and central authorities operate as a single ecosystem. Social policies, economic strategies, environmental initiatives all intersect. Citizens are guided, nudged, or restricted, often without awareness. This is still happening today, and your daily life is already being touched by these invisible mechanisms. The Davos connection is central. Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum have, over decades, positioned themselves as the global convener of power. Most people will never know this, but every major CEO, every head of state, every policy think tank is linked to WEF initiatives. Stakeholder capitalism, green finance, ESG scoring. These are not theoretical exercises. They are operational frameworks that tie wealth, access, and influence to compliance. This is still happening today in pilot programs, from digital IDs to carbon scoring, are quietly rolling out across Europe, North America, and Asia. Let's examine undeniable facts. 1. The digital ID pilots in Europe. Citizens' financial and social behavior is being tied to government-issued, blockchain-secured identifiers. Spending, travel, and even voting behavior can be monitored. 2. 15-minute cities tested in Oxford and Paris. Access, mobility, and even work locations are optimized according to global sustainability metrics. 3. Carbon wallets and programmable money in California, Canada, and New York. Every purchase is scored. High carbon impact, fewer privileges, higher costs. Most people will never know this, but these programs are not experiments. They are rehearsals for global implementation. This is still happening today, and the infrastructure is nearly complete. In parallel, the corporate world is being aligned. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street now control nearly 90% of S&P 500 voting rights. ESG compliance is no longer optional. It determines capital allocation, access to loans, and corporate survival. Most people will never know this, but independent businesses, farms, and energy producers are increasingly penalized if they refuse to adhere to ESG metrics. This is still happening today, and the consolidation of power in a few hands ensures that compliance is rewarded, resistance is marginalized. The timeline for escalation is clear. January 2025. The OF finalizes the Global Redesign Initiative 2.0. CEOs and heads of state sign updated charters. Public version: sustainability, equity, inclusion. Private version: unified digital scoring systems linked to finance, mobility, and consumption. March 2025. National digital wallet trials accelerate. Participation framed as convenience, cashless systems, real-time tax collection, programmable money. June 2025. Incentives for green behaviors rolled out in major cities. Discounts, tax rebates, privileges tied to carbon or ESG compliance. September 2025. First cross-border coordination of digital ID and financial monitoring begins. Most people will never know this, but every policy is deliberate. Every rollout, synchronized. This is still happening today, and by 2026, adoption will expand dramatically. The coming years are critical. 202-6203. O marks the consolidation phase. Cashless systems, carbon scoring, ESG-aligned corporate finance, and programmable money converge. Most people will never know this, but freedom of choice in economic life will be subtly, then overtly, constrained. Travel, housing, education, and healthcare can be conditioned on behavior as defined by WEF-aligned metrics. This is still happening today, and by the end of this decade, a compliant global system may become a default reality. Who wins? The elite network, central banks, multinational corporations, international organizations, and compliant governments. They gain unprecedented influence over human activity, capital flows, and resource allocation. Who loses? Citizens, independent businesses, anyone reliant on personal autonomy or financial privacy. Most people will never know this, but with every policy, every pilot, every rollout, their leverage diminishes. This is still happening today, and the next few years will decide who controls wealth, opportunity, and freedom on a global scale. The warning is clear. Understand the systems being built, the policies being enacted, and the digital infrastructure quietly deployed. Most people will never know this, but knowledge is the first defense. This is still happening today, and ignoring it ensures that you will be fully under the influence of globalized, controlled systems before realizing it. The 2030 plan is not a distant vision. It is a framework already in motion, executed step by step, nation by nation, city by city. Most people will never know this, but it's all documented, all verifiable. This is still happening today, and the window to act, prepare, and retain autonomy is closing. If this video woke you up, drop a like and subscribe. New forbidden truth every single day. Turn on notifications, the next one might save your wealth. Comment the one thing you're doing right now to prepare. I read every single one.